Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/Brian E. Denton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today's reading and reflection is on Chapter 123. Chapter 123. Pierre, as one of the principal guests, had to sit down to Boston with Count Rostov, the general, and the colonel. At the card table, he happened to be directly facing Natasha, and was struck by a curious change that had come over her since the ball. She was silent, and not only less pretty than at the ball, but only redeemed from plainness by her look of gentle indifference to everything around. "What's the matter with her?" thought Pierre, glancing at her. She was sitting by her sister at the tea table, and reluctantly, without looking at him, made some reply to Boris, who sat down beside her. After playing out a whole suite, and to his partner's delight, taking 5 tricks, Pierre, hearing greetings and the steps of someone who had entered the room while he was picking up the tricks, glanced again at Natasha. What has happened to her? He asked himself with still greater surprise. Prince Andrew was standing before her, saying something to her with a look of tender solicitude. She, having raised her head, was looking up at him, flushed, and evidently trying to master her rapid breathing. And the bright glow of some inner fire that had been suppressed was again alight in her. She was completely transformed, and from a plain girl had again become what she had been at the ball. Prince Andrew went up to Pierre, and the latter noticed a new and youthful expression in his friend's face. Pierre changed places several times during the game, sitting now with his back to Natasha and now facing her, but during the whole of the 6 rubbers he watched her and his friend. Something very important is happening between them, thought Pierre, and a feeling that was both joyful and painful agitated him, and made him neglect the game. After 6 rubbers, the general got up, saying that it was no use playing like that, and Pierre was released. Natasha, on one side, was talking with Sonia and Boris, and Vera, with a subtle smile, was saying something to Prince Andrew. Pierre went up to his friend, and asking whether they were talking secrets, sat down beside them. Vera, having noticed Prince Andrew's attentions to Natasha, decided that at a party, a real evening party, subtle allusions to the tender passion were absolutely necessary, and seizing a moment when Prince Andrew was alone, began a conversation with him about feelings in general, and about her sister. With so intellectual a guest as she considered Prince Andrew to be, she felt that she had to employ her diplomatic tact. When Pierre went up to them, he noticed that Vera was being carried away by her self-satisfied talk, but that Prince Andrew seemed embarrassed, a thing that rarely happened with him. "What do you think?" Vera was saying with an arch smile. "You are so discerning, Prince, and understand people's characters so well at a glance. What do you think of Natalie? Could she be constant in her attachments? Could she, like other women," Vera meant herself, "love a man once for all and remain true to him forever? This is what I consider true love. What do you think, Prince?" "I know your sister too little," replied Prince Andrew, with a sarcastic smile under which he wished to hide his embarrassment, "to be able to solve so delicate a question, and then I have noticed that the less attractive a woman is, the more constant she is likely to be," he added, and looked up at Pierre, who was just approaching them. "Yes, that is true, Prince. In our days," continued Vera, mentioning our days as people of limited intelligence are fond of doing, imagining that they have discovered and appraised the peculiarities of our days, and that human characteristics change with the times. In our days, a girl has so much freedom that the pleasure of being courted often stifles real feeling in her, and it must be confessed that Natalie is very susceptible. This return to the subject of Natalie caused Prince Andrew to knit his brows with discomfort. He was about to rise, but Vera continued with a still more subtle smile. "I think no one has been more courted than she went on. "But till quite lately she never cared seriously for anyone. Now you know, Count," she said to Pierre, "even our dear cousin Boris, who between ourselves was very far gone in the land of tenderness," alluding to a map of love much in vogue at that time. Prince Andrew frowned and remained silent. "You are friendly with Boris, aren't you?" asked Vera. "Yes, I know him." "I expect he has told you of his childish love for Natasha?" "Oh, there is childish love?" suddenly asked Prince Andrew, blushing unexpectedly. "Yes, you know between cousins intimacy often leads to love, don't you think so?" "Oh, undoubtedly," said Prince Andrew, and with a sudden and unnatural liveliness, he began chaffing Pierre about the need to be very careful with his 50-year-old Moscow cousins, and in the midst of these jesting remarks he rose, taking Pierre by the arm, and drew him aside. "Well?" asked Pierre, seeing his friend's strange animation with surprise, and noticing the glance he turned on Natasha as he rose. I must have a talk with you," said Prince Andrew. "You know that pair of women's gloves?" He referred to the Masonic gloves given to a newly initiated brother to present to the woman he loved. But no. I will talk to you later on." And with a strange light in his eyes and restlessness in his movements, Prince Andrew approached Natasha and sat down beside her. Pierre saw how Prince Andrew asked her something, and how she flushed and replied. But at that moment Berg came to Pierre and began insisting that he should take part in an argument between the general and the colonel on the affairs in Spain. Berg was satisfied and happy. The smile of pleasure never left his face. The party was very successful, and quite like other parties he had seen. Everything was similar. The ladies' subtle talk, the cards, the general raising his voice at the card table, and the samovar and the tea cakes. Only one thing was lacking that he had always seen at the evening parties he wished to imitate. They had not yet had a loud conversation among the men in a dispute about something important and clever. Now the general had begun such a discussion, and so Berg drew Pierre to it. All right, that concludes my reading of chapter 123. I hope you like it. I will now proceed to my reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, day 123. A Party of Leaves. The life of a leaf relies on the weather. The budding warmth of spring gives birth to a new generation of leaves, and the heat of summer sustains them. Autumn's chill withers them away. Those attending the party in today's chapter are fragile leaves, relying on external causes to either sustain them or wither them away. We open with Pierre noticing Natasha. She doesn't look her normal self. She's more plain than pretty. Something is off in her face. It's only after Prince Andrew speaks with her that she brightens up again. As Pierre watches Prince Andrew speak with Natasha, he can't help but be overcome by a sensation of simultaneous joy and pain. The hosts of the party are equally reliant on others for their sense of well-being. Vera wants the party to have some romantic intrigue, so she attempts to steer Prince Andrew into speaking about Natasha. Berg, for his part, feels as if no party is complete without at least one politically charged argument. So, naturally, he enlists Pierre to debate the most recent controversies coming out of Spain. It's great to find these characters in such fun circumstances. Who doesn't love a party? On the other hand, it is painful to see them starting down a road to a place where their only source of happiness lies outside their sphere of control. They are opening themselves up for the inevitable hurt that comes with such an alignment. Daily Meditation. The condition and characteristic of an uninstructed person is this: he never expects from himself advantage nor harm, but from externals. The condition and characteristic of a philosopher is this: he expects all advantage and all harm from himself. The signs, marks, of one who is making progress are these: he censures no man, he praises no man, he blames no man, he accuses no man, he says nothing about himself as if he were somebody or knew something. When he is impeded at all or hindered, he blames himself. If a man praises him, he ridicules the praiser to himself. If a man censures him, he makes no defense. He goes about like weak persons, being careful not to move any of the things which are placed before they are firmly fixed. He removes all desire from himself, and he transfers aversion to those things only of the things within our power which are contrary to nature. He employs a moderate movement towards everything. Whether he is considered foolish or ignorant, he cares not. And in a word, he watches himself as if he were an enemy and lying in ambush. Epictetus, Enchiridion. All right, so that concludes my reading and reflection on chapter 123 of War and Peace. I hope you liked it. Thanks so much for joining me today. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook, A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation at PayPal. The links to all that are in the show notes below. Tomorrow, we are going to be reflecting and reading chapter 124 of War and Peace. I hope you'll join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.